April is Autism Awareness Month, so in honor of that, I'm going to be taking the RAADS-R Questionnaire. It's not necessarily a quiz, but it's mainly a pre-screening tool. It's to help people who are considering getting an autism diagnosis or screening. So, today is going to be an educational stream. Get your notepads and pencils out, review Cornell format. You're going to be learning. Go ahead and add educational to the tags as well. The reason why I'm doing this is mainly to, one, talk about my own lived experiences, about what I currently experience, and then also I have a sibling who is on the spectrum. And before I go into today, I want to make clear, anything that I share about myself is totally fine with me, and anything I share about my sister is with her consent as well. She and I talked about this before I streamed this. Granted, she's still anonymous, so you guys will never see her anyway, so it's fine. And another thing, I will be putting the resources that I'm using on stream today in the description below, and also additional resources. That way, if you want to do some more research on your own, feel free to. Last thing, depending on how much I'm willing to share, just a brief trigger warning, there may be mentions of abuse, neglect, and or mental illness, because that may or may not be part of my lived experience. I think I'm ready. I'm scared. Type 1 if you're scared. Okay, so first we're going to be going a little bit into what autism is and can look like, including symptoms. And these are all from embraceautism.com. These are research and articles by Dr. Natalie Engelbrecht and Eva Silvertant. They'll also be linked below in the description. So let's go ahead and do some learning. This is their homepage. The first has just links to all these different quizzes that you can use to pre-screen yourself. And they're varying lengths, but today we're going to be taking the RAADS 80 questions. But watch till the end. Embrace Autism is our effort to bring you research and experience-based autism content. Sorry. I was going to touch on this jokingly earlier, but I think it's not cool to joke about. I think it's really... I think it is damaging whenever people self-diagnose or joke about having autism when they don't have it, because then you're still being ableist. Oh, my TikTok For You page is telling me I'm autistic, but it's let's not, that's not chill. Oh, a big thing that I want to say, and I will reiterate later, is I know a lot of people infantilize the symptoms and think it's quirky or kind of trendy to be on the spectrum, and that could be a fallacy in itself, but be careful when you're exploring this and exploring self-diagnosis. Always talk to a medical professional, because at its core, autism is still a disability. It can be really debilitating for some, so don't try to minimize it, don't make fun of it. It's still a huge group of people that you're affecting when you conduct yourself in that way. Embrace Autism is our effort to bring you research and evidence-based autism content to help you better understand yourself, empower yourself, and embrace your advantages and overcome your challenges. Autism Spectrum Difference. A neurodevelopmental difference characterized by alterations in social functioning, hypersensitivity to stimuli, repetitive behaviors, and deep interest, often combined with advanced cognitive and perceptive abilities. What is autistic savant syndrome? Savant syndrome is a condition characterized by mental disabilities combined with exceptional abilities usually related to memory. Although rare, a disproportionate 1 in 10 autistic people are savants. Is there a link between autism and giftedness? A link has been found between autism and high intelligence. Estimated rates of intellectual giftedness in autistic children is 0.7 to 2%, compared to up to 1% in the general public. Some researchers regard autism as a disorder of high intelligence. Are autistic females rare? Autistic females are not actually rare, but since autism presents differently in females, many are misdiagnosed or remain undiagnosed. What was thought to be a 4-to-1 male to female ratio of autism is now predicted to be 2-to-1, possibly even 1-to-1. Dude, I see so many anecdotal stories on Reddit or TikTok of a lot of women not realizing they're on the spectrum till they're an adult, because they're just told that, oh, you're being emotional, or it's normal for you to express yourself this way. That's why always, if you are unsure, talk to a medical professional. They will help guide you. Do autistic people lack empathy? It is a damaging myth that autistic people lack empathy. We can be highly empathetic, but may not always sense the socially appropriate way to communicate it. Additionally, displays of empathy may be delayed until the situation is more salient to us. Obviously, every person is different, and it's not appropriate to generalize. That's the main takeaway from this paragraph. Why is routine important to autistic people? Routine provides a framework to make things controlled and manageable. It gives us something we can rely on in a predominantly unpredictable world. An interrupted routine can disrupt our entire schedule as we have to reconsider/reassess everything. Not gonna lie, I really hate when things change in the schedule. We'll touch on that later. What is an autistic meltdown and shutdown? When we are triggered by social stress, a meltdown can ensue, which can resemble a tantrum. A shutdown is a response to social triggers or sensory overload, after which the person becomes unresponsive and has to rest in order to change. Oh, this is the one I wanted to look at, autism strengths. So this is going more into like potential symptoms. Autism strengths. Did you know that autistic people have abilities beyond the range experienced by neurotypicals? Okay, it's sorry. Why is it essay? Like, why do they choose that acronym? Our autism strengths, by which we mean unusual talents, skills, qualities, and advantages, often beyond the normal range of human experience, can set autistic people apart in positive ways that allow us to make unique contributions to society. While not every autistic person will have all the strengths listed below, scientific research has found these traits to be common. The reason we find it useful to keep a list like this is that, like us, you may very well discover some strengths you didn't even know you had. And getting to know our strengths can be both validating and empowering. Sensory strengths. Visual hypersensitivity. Autistic people can have extraordinary vision, with better visual hypersensitivity, pattern recognition, and attention to details. Autistic people can see visual details that non-autistics don't tend to register. I've always wondered why this happens. A lot of the early signs in like toddlers and very young children is watching how they play with their toys. They will either like categorize or sort their toys, like their blocks, instead of like building like a tower. It's really interesting to see how it's like innate. Tunnel vision. The focus of attention in autistics was found to be sharper, and a sharper spatial gradient of attention was observed. Essentially, they experienced tunnel vision with great clarity of detail at the end of the tunnel. Color intensity. Researchers have found changes in the rods and cones in autistic children's eyes. 85% saw colors with greater intensity than neurotypical children. For these children, red appears nearly fluorescent. Whoa, that's like... Okay, I never knew this. That's kind of cool. Man, they see colors different? That's wild. Okay, I want to learn more about this, the color intensity. Okay, so this is Heightened Sensory Perceptions by Dr. Natalie Engelbrecht. Visual hypersensitivity. Our brains have allocated more brain resources in the areas associated with visual detection, resulting in visual hypersensitivity. Specifically, autistics have more brain resources associated with visual detection and identification, but less activity in the areas used to plan and control thoughts and actions. This results in outstanding capacities in visual tasks. Many autistic people are able to see changes in the gap size on a screen filled with the letter C, much better than neurotypicals. We grow up not knowing that others do not see the world the same as us. They don't need to see air particles, some of us do. Color perception. Our rods and cones are different. 85% of us see colors with greater intensity than neurotypicals, with red appearing nearly fluorescent. 10% saw red as neurotypical children do, and 5% saw muted colors. Okay, so this graph like demonstrates what the red would look like, the fluorescent red. I never knew about this color perception thing. I'll have to ask my sister later. Ooh, I learned a little bit there. I gotta get my notepad out. Synesthesia. Synesthesia is a condition in which multiple senses are perceived simultaneously. A study from the 2013 indicated that synesthesia occurs in 18.9% of autistic people, compared to 77.2% in the control group. Acute hearing. Autistic people were found to have an increased auditory perceptual cavity relative to neurotypicals. This increased capacity may offer an explanation to the auditory superiorities such as heightened pitch detection. Superior auditory discrimination. Autistic people tend to be better at detecting a target sound within a group of sounds and notice irrelevant background information more readily. About 1 in 5 autistic individuals show exceptional frequency discrimination skills. Heightened pitch detection. Some autistic people show superiority in memorizing picture-pitch associations and in detecting pitch changes in melodies. A subset of autistic individuals, known as musical savants, is also known to possess absolute pitch. Lastly, enhanced olfactory detection. Autistic people show enhanced connectivity between the thalamus, a brain area responsible for laying sensory information, and insula, which is thought to be the cause of heightened sensitivity to smell, sound, and taste. Cognitive strengths. Correlation with giftedness. Some researchers regard autism as a disorder of high intelligence, as estimated rates of intellectual giftedness in autistic children is 0.7 to 2%, compared to up to 1% in the general population. Savant syndrome. Savant syndrome is characterized by a stark contrast between disability and profound ability in music, art, mathematics, or mechanical domains, and occurs in 10 to 28.5% of autistic people, compared to 1% in the general population. Powerful memory system. Autistic people can have enhanced or even savant-like memory. This is due to our greater declarative memory. It is this memory that allows us to memorize many things, including thousands of social scripts. Encyclopedic knowledge. Due to their special interests and fixations, people with high-functioning autism tend to be autodidacts and can have encyclopedic knowledge in a particular area, and are often considered experts in particular subjects. You know what's crazy? My dad had a photographic memory. It was also really bad, because he would, just say people's license plates out loud. Like, if somebody cut him off, he would, yell out the window the guy's license plate number. Thankfully, nobody shot us in road rage, but he loved flexing his memory. Superior problem solving. Autistic people are up to 40% faster at problem solving and appear to use perceptual regions of the brain to accelerate problem solving. Autistics have been found to be superior in processing complex patterns. Okay, that's not me. Y'all know I hate puzzle games. Rational decision making. Research indicates autistic people are less likely to make irrational decisions and are less influenced by gut instincts. Consistently in pattern of choice and attention to detail helps them avoid being swayed by their emotions. Hyperfocus. Autistic people are able to exert an intense form of mental concentration or visualization called hyperfocus that focuses consciousness on a subject, topic, or task, and are significantly more able to focus for extended periods of time. Hypersystemizing. Autistic people tend to have a high drive to analyze or construct systems called systemization. As such, they tend to be great at pattern recognition of systems and often show talent in systemizable domains. You know what's funny? My sister lost her job last year, and she worked with a job coach who had worked with people who are on the spectrum. It was really cute because my sister was talking about how she likes making Google Docs to plan vacations. Dude, my sister is planning another trip for next year, and she has a 5-page doc, hour by hour, of her next Japan trip. And she was showing that to her job coach, and the coach was like, "Oh, you definitely need to put organized in your skills." I really like how they're angling this superpowers. It's really cute. Pattern recognition. The autistic brain excels at recognizing patterns. In fact, brain regions associated with recognizing patterns, temporal and occipital areas, light up more in autistic peoples than in general populations. Increased adaptive coding. Research found that women, in contrast with men, should increase adaptive coding of face identity in correlation with the levels of autistic traits related to social interactions, making them better at discriminating between many faces. Lateral thinking. Research shows a link between autistic traits and unusual and novel ideas, which occurs due to their strong ability to think outside the box. In studies, autistic people were far more likely to generate creative ideas than non-autistics. Behavioral strengths. Strong work ethic. Autistic people make a lot of hard task choices, despite small rewards, and the brain continues to reward intrinsically for doing hard work, regardless of repetition. The lack of need for novelty can sustain our joy in both work and relationships. Challenges. Every superhero has their kryptonite, and some of our abilities have drawbacks too. Just as every superhero has unique weaknesses or kryptonites, which they tend to face head-on to reach their full potential, autistic people also face certain unique challenges. Some of these challenges are inherent to autism, while other challenges emerge out of social issues such as interpersonal mismatches. Once again, not every autistic person may encounter all of these struggles, but this list may help you recognize yours and learn to improve and better manage your challenges. Reduced affect display. Autistic people often show flat affect, which is a reduction in emotional expressiveness due to an apparent lack of facial expressions or vocal inflection. As such, autistic individuals can be hard to read, which can make some people uncomfortable. Yeah, like I told earlier, my sister rarely expresses herself. It's really cute. We've been moved out of our parents' house for about 1.5 years now, and she has become a lot more expressive with me and friends, and it's really cute to see. It's important to acknowledge that you should never force somebody to mask, never force somebody to engage. Always make sure you have clear boundaries with your friends and families. Fear response to calm chemicals. When afraid, people release chemicals that act as contagion to fear. Autistic people, however, relax from smelling fear sweat and become anxious from smelling calm chemicals. No wonder social gatherings cause anxiety. Cognitive challenges. Low theory of mind. Theory of mind is undermined in autistic people, leading to difficulties with attributing mental states. This may cause one to make wrong assumptions in social situations or misread or fail to read emotions, intentions, or cues from others. So, clueless. I've thought about this a lot in particular because there's been a few times where my sister will come to me and be like, hey, this happened, like, what should I do? Or like, how should I interpret this? And I feel like a lot of my answers are just what I've learned to do. A huge reason why I'm like reading all this before is I know I demonstrate signs, so I'm not sure like if I've just spent my whole life like masking or if I'm like genuinely like this. Rigid or inflexible thinking. As a result of high systemizing mechanism in autistic people, they do not tend to cope very well with symptoms of high variance or change, including the social world of other minds, and tend to be change resistant. High prevalence of PTSD. Autism may serve as a vulnerability marker for post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, by increasing the risk for exposure to traumatic events, and may exuberate autism symptoms through maladaptive coping strategies and reduced help seeking. Alexithymia co-occurrence. 40 to 65% of autistic people have alexithymia, an inability to identify or describe emotions. Several cognitive issues usually ascribed to autism, example phase perception deficits and fluctuating empathy, actually stem from alexithymia. When we were younger, my sister was nonverbal until she was 4 years old. So she was in like a specialized preschool and like specialized daycare when she was very young. And I remember my mom had little charts. So my sister would have to point to the chart on like different emotions, like, are you happy? Are you sad? And like different items throughout the house that she'd want. And I think she stopped using that when she was like 5 or 6. It's really interesting to learn more of like the more specific nuances of autism. Identifying facial expressions. On account of alexithymia, autistic people often have challenges identifying emotional facial expressions due to difficulties interpreting intact sensory descriptions. This can lead to social friction. Forgetting faces. Research indicates autistic children seem to have a remarkably smooth fusiform gyrus, the part of the brain that helps us recognize faces. Additionally, autistic adults often report not being able to recognize or memorize faces. Diminished adaptive coding. Research found that men, but not women, showed reduced adaptive coding of face identity in correlation with the levels of autistic traits related to social interactions, making it harder to discriminate between many faces. Reduced face after effects. Part of this adaptive coding relates to a face identity after effects, which is an opposite after image of what is being perceived, which aids in differentiating faces. Autistic children were found to experience half of the amount of after effects as controls. Excessive daydreaming. Autistic people are sensitive, making them prone to trauma, which can result in maladaptive daydreaming in order to escape from reality, as a way of alleviating stress and emotional pain, or to seek internal companionship to alleviate loneliness. Active resting network. The resting network of autistic people does not fire up or switch off like it does for non-autistics. A clear correlation was found between the low level of activity in the resting network during rest and difficulties in social behaviors. Sensory differences. Sensory overload. Autistic people filter out less sensory information, meaning more information has to be processed. This makes us prone to sensory overload, which may result in a shutdown unless one can withdraw to a secluded place to wind down. Meltdowns. When an autistic person is triggered by social stress and/or sensory overload, a meltdown can ensue, which resembles a tantrum. It may involve yelling, aggression, self-harm, and repetition, and can result in a shutdown. Shutdowns. A shutdown is a response to social stress or sensory overload, after which the person becomes unresponsive or even immobile. A shutdown can result in extreme exhaustion and may be followed up by a nap in order to recharge. Hyperacusis. Some autistic people have hyperacusis, which is a debilitating hearing disorder characterized by an increased sensitivity to certain frequencies and volume ranges of sound, resulting in an inability to tolerate usual environmental sound. Habitual behaviors. Prone to addiction. The majority of autistic people who have intellectual disability do not use substances. However, autistic people without intellectual disability have a much higher rate of substance abuse, almost twice as high. Deficient of prediction. Autistic people show a deficit of prediction, which is thought to be due to altered processing of social signaling errors, and the degree of which these signals were altered correlated with the extent of social deficits. Yeah, so that was all of the strengths and weaknesses, or rather symptoms, that people on the spectrum may face. That's why it's important to know what the general symptoms are. That way you know like the best way to support your friends or family who may be on the spectrum. Obviously, always talk directly with those individuals. That way you know the best way to support them on an individual level, of course. In the menu, their blog section has a lot more specific articles that you can feel free to deep dive in your own time. But you know what? I think we've learned a lot today. It's time we take this silly little quiz. No, I shouldn't say silly. We've learned a lot today. It's time we take the questionnaire. So this is written by Dr. Engelbrecht and Eva Silvertond. I found it interesting how they called it a questionnaire, because I saw a bunch of memes about this questionnaire being like, did I win or did I pass the test? But it's just a screening. There's no winning, there's no losing. It's just to see like if your symptoms that you currently experience do correlate with ASD. The RITFO Autism Asperger Diagnostic Scale Revised is a self-report questionnaire designed to identify autistic adults who escape diagnosis due to a subclinical level presentation. So this questionnaire is meant for those who are considering getting a diagnosis or getting an evaluation. It's like a precursor to see if I score high enough, maybe I should seriously consider getting a formal evaluation. Takes 10 to 30 minutes, 80 questions. So the original came out in 2008, the revised came out in 2011. The RAADS-R is a self-report instrument. However, the authors mentioned that a clinician might help a participant interpret items if they have difficulty understanding the question. The tests assess developmental symptoms correlating with the 3 DSM-5 diagnostic categories: language, social relatedness, and sensory motor, as well as a fourth subscale, circumscribed interest. It consists of 80 statements, giving you 4 choices for each statement. True now and when I was young, true now only, true only when I was younger than 16, or never true. The scoring range of the RAADS-R is 0 to 240. A score of 65 plus indicates you are likely autistic, as no neurotypical scored above 64 in the research. A score of less than 65 means you are likely not autistic. However, note that no single test is conclusive. For more certainty, we suggest taking a few other autism tests as well. So the threshold is 65, maximum is 240. Scoring. The scoring of the most statements are as follows: true now when I was young, worth 3, true now and only, worth 2, true only when I was younger than 16, worth 1, never true, worth 0. However, the point value is reversed for the 17 so-called normative questions. Average scores. The table below shows the average total scores and subscores for people taking the RAADS-R, derived by autistic people, suspected autistic people, and non-autistic people, or neurotypicals. Okay, looking at the average scores, I'm not going to share my sister's score yet, but she scored in range. Controls had an average of 25.95. Those on the spectrum had an average of 133. Age, gender, and self-expectancy of autism. Research also shows that a person's age, gender, autism diagnosis, or whether an individual considered themselves to be autistic did not impact how they understood the survey. The only relevant factor is their actual neurotype. A 2024 study shows that diagnosed autistics and undiagnosed individuals who considered themselves to be autistic responded to the survey in a similar way, whereas those who were unsure whether they're autistic were way more different in their responses. And here we are, finally taking the RAADS-R questionnaire. Let's see if my suspicions are true. I personally demonstrate some signs of ASD. A lot of my specific symptoms, which we might touch on later, do correlate with mental illness. I experience executive dysfunction, some sensory overload, auditory processing issues, but I also have a spinal cord condition and a neurological condition. It's unclear if symptoms, whether they be old or new. I think it's very important to remember before going into this, a lot of the ASD symptoms will be prevalent when you're younger. And I know some things were there when I'm younger, but I've developed a lot more as I've gotten older, as I've gotten other diagnoses. So, just a preface before I start. And this is 80 questions, so buckle in. Number 1. I am a sympathetic person. Sympathy means empathy. I consider sympathy as like being able to feel sad. I was a very emotional kid when I was younger. I would get sad when other people would get sad. I often use words and phrases from movies and television in conversations. Okay, that's only true now. That's because I'm on the internet like 100% of my day. Like, I be saying Riz, Gyat, Ain't no way all the time, okay? It's genuinely so bad. When I was younger, I didn't consume a lot of media. And looking back, even if I did, I wasn't online. And I think online culture perpetuates that. So that's true only now. I am often surprised when others tell me I've been rude. No, I know when I'm rude. I know when I'm rude. Like, there's been a few times where I've had an interaction, like, whether it be like in stream with chat or like with friends. When I like think back about it later, I'm like, oh, I was a bit curt. Like, in the moment, I may not realize it. Like, I may think I'm saying the right thing, but afterwards I'm like, oh, I know I was being kind of rude there. So I know what I'm doing usually. If I'm mean, I'll be mean. Sometimes I talk too loudly or too softly, and I'm not aware of it. Yeah, this is me a lot. I tend to like whisper, like accidentally when I'm with my friends, or even on stream I talk really loud. I don't realize how loud I'm talking. Granted, when I'm on stream I have a mic, so like I feel like I need to talk loud, but my volume does fluctuate in like a normal conversation if I'm not like on, you could say, for stream. That is something that I do. I often don't know how to act in social situations. No, I know how to act. Yeah, I know how to act. I know not to take my shoes off in the store. I can quote-unquote put myself in other people's shoes. Yeah. I've always been very empathetic. And even more prevalent now, like consuming so much media online, consuming so much news. Sometimes I like feel like in my chest whenever I see something happen. I have a hard time figuring out what some phrases mean, like you are the apple of my eye. No, I always understood. Something that I remembered recently was obviously my parents knew my sister had ASD. Looking back, there were a lot of things they did good, and then some things didn't do as good. So one of the things that was kind of an L was my sister didn't understand idioms. So an idiom is, like it's saying here, phrases that say something but mean something entirely different. So like she didn't understand the phrase when pigs could fly. She really struggled with phrases like that. And so what my parents did is anytime they said an idiom and my sister didn't understand, they wrote it on a sticky note and put it on the fridge. They would like tease her about it. Which honestly, huge L, okay? Huge L. Don't do that if you're a parent. Don't do that. Don't make fun of your kid. I only like to talk to people who share my special interest. No, I like talking to... I like listening to people talk about what they like. If you have a special interest, like info dump on me. I love listening. I focus on details rather than the overall idea. I'm not sure. I don't know. This question makes me think of like a painting, right? You look at the whole composition first, and then you look at the details throughout. But when I'm out and about, like I always focus on little details. Like if I'm on the bus, I'm like hyper focusing on the seat diagonal from me. Or if I'm in the forest, I'm looking at one leaf. It depends on the context for me, but usually I look at details. I don't know if that's how I was when I was younger. I'll say true only now because now I have like the time to focus on details. I always notice how food feels in my mouth. This is more important to me than how it tastes. Never true. Texture is huge, but I much prefer taste over texture. Oh wait. Wait, that's probably true now. I used to not like a lot of foods when I was younger. Like veggies, obviously a no-no. Okay, the big reason why I don't like veggies is the texture. Like you're literally eating grass, and I can only picture grass when I'm eating veggies. Oh wait, it's true only when I was younger than 16, yeah. When I was a child it was more prevalent, but as an adult, I'll like guzzle anything down, I'll be honest. Ladies. I miss my best friends or family when we were apart for a long time. Yeah, I miss my friends. Even though I don't have many friends, I do miss them. It is really cute. Because I do kind of miss my sister when she goes to work. I'll be honest. Sometimes I offend others by saying what I'm thinking, even if I don't mean to. This is talking about like my parents taught me, don't say something about somebody if they can't change it that day. Like if you see a wart, don't say anything. So that's something that like I've had to learn. But also, like, I didn't talk a lot when I was younger. I just felt like I didn't have the need to talk. So it's not often that things, like, come out, you know? So I would say never true. I do hold back a lot as an adult. Granted, like, some jokes, like, don't hit. But if it's something that's obviously, like, rude to say, I don't say it. I only like to talk and think about a few things that interest me. I'm gonna say never true, Because obviously I live with my sister, and her special interest ever since we've moved is cats now. Literally, she'll come home, she'll chill, and she'll put on YouTube and watch cat videos for hours, and she will only talk about cats. Which is really cute, because like, she really wants one. But I'm not like that. The only thing that I can yap and think about all the time is streaming and YouTube. But that's like, because it's work or a hobby. I'm always down to like think about other things, you know what I mean? It's not like it's all that I think of. So I'm gonna say never true. I'd rather go out to eat in a restaurant by myself than with someone I know. Oh, never true. Dude, look at me. If I walk into a restaurant by myself, I'm gonna be getting side-eyed like crazy. I will always find a reason to bring somebody else with me, mainly because they can pay the bill for me. I'll be honest. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be somebody else. Never true. I've been told that I'm clumsy and uncoordinated. Okay, I was a klutz when I was younger, but that's because my head was huge and I was really skinny. It's like partially because like, obviously like, I'm obese or whatever. I'm also 5'2", so like, I'm very round, okay? So I think I'm bigger than I am. And it's not necessarily like a body dysmorphia thing. It's just like genuinely, I think I take up more space than I do. So because of that, like I don't like take as big a step as I should, or I don't like scoot over too much. And then I trip. But then I also trip now because my brain condition causes vertigo. So like I don't think it's the ASD, you know what I mean? Others consider me odd or different. Type 1 if you think I'm different. I'm gonna say when I was younger, I think I'm definitely like more normal now, but that's because I've learned how to be normal. But I was definitely like an outlier and a loner kid. I was also the kid at recess who would sort the toys. Like I was the one sorting the blocks. I understand when friends need to be comforted. Yes, I've always been good about that. I am very sensitive to the way that my clothes feel when I touch them. How they feel is more important to me than how they look. Yes. That's why, like, I can't buy clothes online. I have to know how they feel. I can wear most anything, but some textures I can't do. And also for my blankets, too. Like, I have a Sherpa, a faux Sherpa blanket, and I can only use the soft side. I can't use the wide side. It's too itchy. I like to copy the way certain people speak and act. It helps me appear more normal. Yeah. Dude, you guys can like see how my vernacular has changed over the past few years, like watching old streams. Like it's so wild. Like so much of my cadence, the verbiage I use, my vernacular, is influenced by the media I consume. And also the people I surround myself with. I watch so much Ludwig and Squeaks, like I use their slang so much. That's how I am with my friends too. If they use a joke or a phrase, I will copy it. Like I will copy body language as well. I don't do it intentionally, I just do it. I don't do it to appear normal, I just do it. It can be very intimidating for me to talk to more than one person at the same time. Yes. It's because I want to give everybody equal attention. I can like listen to everybody talk, but I can't engage in that conversation. I have to act normal to please other people and make them like me. Yeah. This is obviously talking about masking from what I've observed. I don't have many of the stims. Or I do fiddle my hands a lot. I don't have very obvious stims. You could say that like the way I act and conduct myself isn't super inviting. Like I'm very standoffish, like if you meet me IRL, which don't. The way I act in public and in personal circumstances is very much to protect myself. And I do want people to like me, so yeah. Meeting new people is usually easy for me. True only now. I used to be very reserved when I was younger, very nervous. Like I'd be the kid standing behind my mother's legs, you know, very nervous talking to people. But I'm obviously like, I'm rich now, I'm confident now. Ladies, like talking to new people is fine. Like if a stranger talks to me, I'll talk back, you know? I get highly confused when someone interrupts me when I'm talking about something I'm very interested in. It's not that I get confused. I get more like annoyed, I guess. But I understand that, you know, sometimes I need to stop yapping. You know? I would say never true. I don't get confused, I just get annoyed. But then I also understand that maybe if somebody interrupts me, then I understand that maybe they don't want to hear what I'm talking about. It is difficult for me to understand how other people are feeling when we are talking. Never true. No, truly now. I'm a lot better at reading people now. Back when I was like middle school and elementary, I was I was clueless. I like having a conversation with several people. For instance, around a dinner table, at school, or work, no. One-on-one all the way. I take things too literally, so I often miss what people are trying to say. Never true. It is very difficult for me to understand when someone is embarrassed or jealous. Never true. I think it's because I experienced embarrassment and jealousy like when I was young, so therefore I could understand when somebody else was experiencing it. Some ordinary textures that do not bother others feel very offensive when they touch my skin. Yes. I get extremely upset when the way I like to do things is suddenly changed. Yes. Oh my god. This was so prevalent in like the workplace, like working in food service, like whenever the manager would tell you to do something a specific way and then you do that for 2 weeks and then they change it. Holy sh! Like that is like the worst. Or if I find like a more efficient way to do something and then they make me change that way, it's like so frustrating. If it's a process, then more often than not for me, it's like muscle memory. Like even when I'm editing, I have all my keys memorized. Like I know where to click on my screen. So anytime I rearrange my windows, it really bothers me. So yes, that's true. I have never wanted or needed to have what other people call an intimate relationship. I think the key word here is never wanted or needed. The way I interpret this is like seeking it out. I'm a very like individualistic person. Like I'm very self-motivated. I know what I want to do. And I don't necessarily need somebody by my side to do said thing. Even when I was younger, I never wanted to get married. I never pictured having like a GF or BF. Yes, I've had one in the past, but it's not like I don't need that to thrive. I'm gonna say true. It's true. It is difficult for me to start and stop a conversation. I need to keep going until I'm finished. Yes. Dude, I will keep yapping. Like, if I'm on a phone call with somebody, like, I will drag out that phone call. Like, it will never end. Like, whenever my homie's like, hey, I gotta go, I'm like, wait, I got something else to tell you. Dude, I'm so bad at ending a conversation. But starting conversations, I'm also really bad at, like, reaching out first. I speak with a normal rhythm. Okay, what does that mean? Well, what is normal? I would say never true. I've always been kind of quirky. But, like we talked about earlier, like, I follow the cadence of those I surround myself with. I don't think that's normal. The same sound, color, or texture can suddenly change from very sensitive to very dull. I think this is talking about dissociation. I guess where something like is bothering you and then it stops bothering you. I'm gonna say never true. If something bothers me, it sticks. The phrase, I've got you under my skin makes me uncomfortable. No, I know that's not what they mean. Unless they like want to do vor, then I would say no, sir. Sometimes the sound of a word or high-pitched noise can be painful in my ears. No. I know we jokingly say, ew, moist, ooh, but that never bothered me. I'm an understanding type of person, yeah. But it's cause like I'm just very passive, and that's due to like mental illness, so yay. I do not connect with characters in movies and cannot feel what they feel. I'm indifferent about this because I can much easier empathize with people like in real life, but in TV shows, I know they're not real. Like, it's fabricated emotion. I don't like when things make me feel how they want me to feel. It's like, I'm just being stubborn. I cannot tell when someone is flirting with me. Okay, I can tell. But another problem I have is that, like, I will flirt, like, unconditionally. Like, I'm just a Rizzlord, you know? I will just flirt to flirt. Okay, partially because, like, I feel confident when I flirt. And then also, like, I like seeing the other person like be like, oh, you know what I mean? I can see in my mind in exact detail things that I'm interested in. Oh, okay, never true. I don't have the brain that pictures things, which is kind of weird to like say as an artsy person, but like I can't visualize things in my head. Like if I see apple, I can't like picture an apple. I keep lists of things that interest me, even when they have no practical use. For example, sports statistics, train schedules, calendar dates, historical facts, and dates. I used to do this. I used to make lists of all my toys, all the shows I like to watch, the characters in the shows, but I stopped when I started using Tumblr, and then when I turned like 17, 18, I was like, I needed to stop using Tumblr. And that's when I kind of stopped with like anything that could be considered a special interest. I'm unsure if it was just like me like not wanting to be childish. When I feel overwhelmed by my senses, I have to isolate myself to shut them down. There's been a few times where I get overwhelmed. There was one time I remember I was on the bus. I was like so close to home too. I was like 5 minutes away from home. And I was just overwhelmed because like something bad happened in the grocery store. Like somebody was rude to me or something. And then I was just spiraling. that was like an instance of like an anxiety attack, not necessarily like a meltdown. I started crying on the bus, but I was wearing a mask, so like nobody saw my tears. Hopefully, nobody saw my tears. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, it's mainly due to like mental strain, not necessarily like outside stimulus, like an autistic meltdown or shutdown would be. I've never had an instance where I was overstimulated that I can think about. The only time where I feel the need to isolate is when I'm having like a mental episode. I like to talk things over with my friends. Yes sir? Oh, true only now. When I was younger, I didn't share I cannot tell if someone is interested or bored with what I'm saying. Like I said, I'll just keep yapping. Like, I will only like stop talking about something if I can tell they're like visually, obviously uninterested. Otherwise, I'll keep talking. It can be very hard to read someone's face, hand, and body movements when they're talking. Never true. I think it's because when I was younger, I learned what to look out for. So I've always known. The same thing, like clothes or temperatures, can feel very different to me at different times. Yes. But I think that's because like hormones and shit. Like right now, it's like 60 degrees in our duplex, right? But I'm like freezing, I'm cold. And like, for example, like sweaters like this, like I like it, and then sometimes I hate it throughout the day. Like yesterday I wore this and I took it off like 3 times and I put it back on 4 times, you know? I feel very comfortable with dating or being in social situations with others. Truly no. Obviously I'm not dating, ew. Depends on the type of social situation. Like I don't think I'd like party still, like I'm turning 25 and I still haven't gone to a single party. But I'm definitely more comfortable with it now, as an adult. I try to be as helpful as I can when other people tell me their personal problems, yes. True only now. I think when I was younger, I didn't really know how, so I didn't feel like I had the right to like help people. But now I'm educated, I've seen a therapist, I read articles, I'm woke, and I'm also lit. So if you need help, tell me. I have been told that I have an unusual voice. For example, flat, monotone, childish, or high-pitched. Yes. I have been told I have a very flat voice. So like I will intentionally like change my pitch to like overcompensate. But because of that, I just sound silly. Anyway, sometimes a thought or subject gets stuck in my mind and I have to talk about it even if no one is interested. No. I will only bring up something if I'm already talking about it, or if the other person wants to listen. I'm not gonna like yap. If I wanted to do that, I would just chirp on Twitter all day, you know what I mean? I do certain things with my hands over and over again, like flapping, twirling sticks or strings, waving things by my eyes. I will only stim when I'm nervous, is what I've like the pattern that I've seen with myself. I will only stim when I'm nervous, and it's only like little, I will clasp my hands like this. I've never flapped. I don't like fidget toys. Like my mom got me one when I was little and I didn't like it. I think because it was too noisy. She didn't give me a good one. But even if I could buy a fidget toy now, I wouldn't use it. I like my hands. What I do is like I look at my nails a lot. Like I'll be like sitting here and I'll be like, ooh, that's cute. I'm gonna say true now, and when I was young, like I don't have like the more prominent stems. Like mine are very subtle. But I do them when I'm nervous, so it is a self-regulating thing that I do. I've never been interested in what most of the people I know consider interesting. Yes. Dude, I'm a streamer. Like, that's as niche as you can get. I'm considered a compassionate type of person. I hope so. Smile. But yeah, I try to be nice. I get along with other people by following a set of specific rules to help me look normal. I'm gonna say true because this is implying that you learned how to act. And that you would act abnormal if you didn't learn. Looking back, I'm still unsure if I masked when I was younger or not, because I grew up with a sibling who was on the spectrum. So I learned a lot of what she learned. I used a lot of the communication tools that she used. I would say yeah, because those communication tools did help me. It is very difficult for me to work and function in groups. It was true when I was younger, but that's because I didn't know how to communicate. But now I'm a lot more assertive. But I've also learned how to be more assertive, and I've also gained more confidence. It was only difficult when I was younger because I just didn't have the want to communicate or was confident enough to communicate. I think that was more of a mental hurdle than like a physical thing, you know what I mean? When I am talking to someone, it is hard to change the subject. If the other person does so, I can get very upset and confused. I would say no, because I'm just like, what you're saying is more important than me. I would say never true. Sometimes I have to cover my ears to block out painful noises like vacuum cleaners or people talking too much or too loudly. Okay, when I read cover my ears, I thought it meant literally like this. You know, I do be wearing my headphones, like, a lot. Even around the house. Oh, okay. I wear my headphones when I do dishes, because dishes is really loud. When I'm out and about, I usually wear headphones because, like, the cars are too loud. And it's not that, like, they're too loud, it's because I'm, like, scared of the cars. Because, like, so many people die from vehicular accidents, like, I'm not scared of the sound, I'm scared of the stupid people on the road. Oh, wait, it says painful noises. Okay, I would say true only now, but that's because, like, anxiety, not for, like, sensory reasons, I don't think. Like, noises never made me feel, like, uncomfortable or pain, they just made me anxious. If anything, they make me anxious. I don't like loud noise. Hashtag trauma. I can chat and make small talk with people. True only now. I'm a Rizzler now. When I was younger, I was such a pleb. But yeah, I don't mind small talk now. Like, I can do it. I don't, like, seek it out, but it would make me very uncomfortable when I was younger. Sometimes things that should feel painful are not. For instance, when I hurt myself, I burned my hand on the stove. Interesting fact. When I was younger, like a little kid, I used to say I had a high pain tolerance. I legit didn't feel pain. Like, it was wild. And I used to not feel pain up until like 3 years ago when I started showing symptoms for my neurological condition. But now I feel so much pain. Like a little prick, I'm like, oh, it hurts. Maybe like my neurons just weren't like firing off in my brain when I was younger. Now that I have chronic pain, I feel pain so much more than I did before. Like, I can't really see it. I have a scar on my wrist. It's shaped like an exclamation point. I got it from the roof of my oven when I was like 12. And it literally didn't hurt. I was like, oh my god, I got burned. But it didn't hurt. Before I had my symptoms for my neurological condition, like, I didn't feel pain. That's why I'm gonna say true now when I was young. Like, now that I have chronic pain, I just feel pain all the time. So I don't think that counts. When talking to someone, I have a hard time telling when it's my turn to talk or listen. I know when I'm supposed to talk, but it's a matter of, like, acting on when to know when to talk. I'm very bad about interrupting. I interrupt a lot, but it's mainly because, like, if I don't say what I want to say, I will forget what I'm going to say. I know when, like, societal-wise, I'm supposed to talk and intervene and interject, but I just don't act on it. I'm considered a loner by those who know me best, yes. Dude, I don't text anybody. I feel really bad, but it's just because, like, my social battery is so low. I don't know, I just got, like, so much shit going on up here, like, all the time. It's like, you don't want to hear what's going on up here. I usually speak in a normal tone. Apparently not. I don't speak normally. I like things to be exactly the same day after day, and even small changes in my routines upset me, yes. I plan out my week every week, right? And if something changes, it really bothers me. Or if somebody gets home at a different time, it bothers me. Because if something deviates from the plan, that means something's wrong or something happened. And I'm not sure if that's like a trauma response or just how I'm like wired. I don't like change at all. Like, I will do the same thing. I wake up at 6, I edit, I bike, I stream, or I edit, and then repeat. Or if like somebody tries to make last minute plans, I can't do it. Just because, like, mentally, I wake up for the day knowing what I have to do. So if anybody asks me, like, hey, can you do this last minute thing for me? Or do you want to hang out tomorrow? I'm like, that's not in my plan. And I don't have, like, the mental or physical energy to do said thing. And, like, I've always been like that. I don't like flakes. I don't like last minute changes. How to make friends and socialize is a mystery to me. That was only true when I was younger. I was clueless. I was a little pleb. It calms me to spin around or to rock in a chair when I'm stressed. No, I'm not a grandma. But no, I've never had any stims like this. The phrase, he wears his heart on his sleeve, does not make sense to me. Never true. That means he's very kind. Also, he's maybe wearing like Markiplier merch. If I'm in a place where there are too many smells, textures to feel, noises, or bright lights, I feel anxious or frightened. I'm thinking a scenario like this would be like a mall, a fair. Surprisingly, I never got overwhelmed in those situations. I was mainly scared of the people, because when there's more people, there's more likelihood of like a mass casualty event or like just something bad happen because there's more people. But I was never scared on the environment. I was just more scared of the people. Because, you know, I grew up in the age when like school shootings were like very common. And I still have that fear. I can tell when someone says one thing but means something else. Yes. You know, the master manipulator knows how to read other people too. I like to be by myself as much as I can. I would say only true when I was younger. As an adult, I like company now. I love the idea of living by myself, but I know I would get lonely. Like, I'm not a super social person, but I just like knowing there's people around. I keep my thoughts stacked in my memory, like they are on filing cards, and pick out the ones I need by looking through the stack and finding the right one. Never true. I legit can't remember anything. And when I think of a memory, I think of an idea. I can't like visualize the thing that happened. My mind is not like that. The same sound sometimes seems very loud or very soft, even though I know it has not changed. No. Never true. I enjoy spending time eating and talking with my family and friends. True only now. I was very antisocial when I was younger, but that's because like mental illness. I can't tolerate things I dislike, like smells, textures, sounds, and colors. Yes. If something bothers me, like I have to either remove myself from the situation or remove said thing. Like, I cannot handle it. I can't do it. I don't like to be hugged or held. True only when I was younger, but that's because trauma. Also, my parents like never hugged or kissed us, so I didn't understand like the importance of like platonic touches until I became older. But now I love hugs. When I go somewhere, I have to follow a familiar route or I can get confused and upset. Now, I don't want to leak, but I usually, if I have a route I like, I stick to it. But if I have to divert from the route, I don't get upset. I just find a way to solve the problem. I would say never true. It is difficult to figure out what other people expect of me. True when I was younger, I had a lot more difficulty understanding what people meant, like nuances to situations. But as an adult, I just anticipate that people want so many things, but I can more easily pinpoint what's the most important thing that the person needs. Ooh! I like to have close friends. Self-reporting? I would say never true. I'm very much a loner person. I understand the importance of having those you can be vulnerable and close to, but it's not like I need it, which sounds like really psycho to say out loud, you know what I mean? I don't need it because I'm at a point in my life where like I understand like what my own personal needs and wants are. And also like you can always contact a medical professional if you need somebody to rely on or if you feel like you genuinely have no friends. But hyper focusing on the word like, it's comforting to know that you have people that you can rely on, but I don't like need it. To be honest, like I have only one friend that I'm like very, very close to. Everybody else is like just casual friendships, and that's totally fine. But as long as you have one person that you can rely on, you should be fine. People tell me I give too much detail. Yeah. I've been told on many occasions that I give a lot of unnecessary details. I'm often told that I ask embarrassing questions. I would say when I was younger. Now I know when to hold back. When I was younger, like, maybe something slipped. But when I was told when something was not okay to ask, I stopped. The final question. I tend to point out other people's mistakes. Yes. That's only because, like, I'm a critic and I'm a cynic and I'm a pessimist. I don't do it to be mean. I just, I'm looking out for them. That was the final question. Let's see my final score. I'm so scared. I'm closing my eyes. Oh my god, that's so much higher than I thought it'd be. I'm shocked. I genuinely thought I would score like maximum like an 80, okay? If the threshold is 65, I know I'm like a little bit, but 105? Dude, my sister's gonna laugh so much when she sees this. Okay, let's analyze. What do my scores mean? All scores of 65 or higher are indicative of autistic traits. The higher the score, the more autistic traits you have. So I scored how much? 105. I scored 105, so that means I'm between 90 and 130. So 90 is stronger indications of autism, although non-autistics may score as high. 130. The mean score of autistic people, scoring evidence for autism. What does that mean though? So am I just like a little bit spicy? Like, these are other tests I can take. I think I'll try these tests offline. I need to do a little deep dive before I explore a bit, My final score for the RAADS-R test is 105, which indicates that I may have ASD, which, to reiterate, we're embracing it. Okay, I went into this figuring that obviously I have some symptoms, I have some family who are on the spectrum. Like I said earlier, a lot of my symptoms correlate with my symptoms of mental illness. I have anxiety and major depressive disorder, asterisk major. That's on my chart, like literally. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Cause like this year I was considering maybe I should get an evaluation, but at this point in my life, I'm 25 And there's obviously different levels of accommodation or resources you can get through your local and your state DSHS agencies concerning ASD diagnoses. I know in Washington, it's cool. If you have an ASD diagnosis, you can get free dental care, but you have to be assigned to social workers. So that's kind of an L. There is a lot more resources for work training. So if you have a diagnosis or are considering getting a diagnosis, see what's available in your local area. It's not bad. I'm like genuinely surprised it was that high. My sister was diagnosed when she was like 4 or 5. She was nonverbal up until she was 4. And she scored 150. I think it was 154. So she scored in her range. You know what? I'm gonna download the PDF and review this with my sister, because obviously maybe I need to do some self-evaluation and maybe see what resources are available to me. That was the RAADS-R Questionnaire. I scored higher than I thought, but you know what? Today I learned a lot. I learned a few ways that I can help myself and also those who are close to me who have ASD. Once again, everybody's different. Make sure to do your own research on how to best support your own family and friends who may be on the spectrum. Like I said, the main takeaway is that it can be quirky and fun to think you have a diagnosis or symptoms that could be related to ASD, but at its core, it's still a disability. So make sure you learn the best ways to support those you are close to. I'm definitely telling this to my therapist, so please make sure you're following the channel and subscribed. And make sure you can watch live over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Peacein17 for more funny haha content, even though this is like not funny. Man, 105? That's so high. Oh my god. But what am I gonna do?